All right, so you are ready for your part of speech notes on verbs. We have three different types of verbs that we're looking at today: action verbs, linking verbs, and helping verbs. Sometimes we call the helping verbs a verbal phrase. So, looking at action verbs, these are the verbs that you are most familiar with. This is what your worksheet would look like. It's empty, it's ready for you to fill in. I'm going to open up the one that has the blanks filled in, so that way you can use it as a reference. So, an action verb tells what action someone or something is performing. That is the definition of just simply an action verb. However, there are two different types of action verbs. There are ones that we can see and ones that we cannot see. So you have mental action, happens within one's thoughts, and you have visible action, which is action that is able to be seen. So, an example of visible action: Amy hit Jeff in the face for fun. You can physically see her hit him. For mental, Sherry thinks Amy is smart for hitting Jeff. Thinks. Thinking is happening in your thoughts. They're both action verbs. One you can see, one happens in your thoughts. Tips for finding your action verbs: remove your prepositional phrases. Ask yourself, what is showing action, whether it's happening in your head or physically you can see it. All right, so action verbs. The next type of verbs that we're going to look at are linking verbs. A linking verb is a verb that connects a word at or near the beginning of a sentence with a word at or near the end of the sentence. So it's connecting your subject most of the time with something else in the sentence. Typically something that's describing the subject or renaming the subject. These linking verbs are the forms of the word be. Now, you're not going to be able to see a chart on page 11. That would be if we had textbooks, but we don't, okay? But you can look up forms of be. Am, is, are, was, be, being, been. Those are all forms of be. There's a few more even. An example: the fans were eager for a win. As always, we take out our prepositional phrase. So we've crossed out for a win. Were is our linking verb. It is linking fans to eager. Fans were eager. So again, remove your prepositional phrases. Does it show action or is it connecting your subject to something? Can you replace it with are, is, and was? Are, is, or was. If you can, then you know it's linking. Fans are eager. That works. So we know were is a linking verb. All right. Then we move on to our helping verbs and our verbal phrases. Our helping verbs are verbs that are added to another verb to make a single verb phrase. These can be forms of the verb be. They can also be select common other verbs, okay? And again, you're not going to see that chart because you don't have your textbook with you. So for example, I have been studying for 2 hours. We remove our prepositional phrase. Typically what we do is we find our subject. I is my subject. Have been is my verb. Have been are my helpers. Studying is my main verb. So if I ask you for a verbal phrase, you would say have been studying. If I ask you for what my helping verbs are, you would say have been. If I ask you what my main verb is, you would say studying. In this case, we're just looking at the helping verbs. So my helping verbs are have been. So, as before, remove that prepositional phrase. Look for the main verb. See if there's helpers in front of it. Something else to note: you can have up to 3 helping verbs in front of a main verb. Could say, I could have been studying for 2 hours. Could have been are 3 helpers. Studying is my main verb. Okay, but you would never have more than 3 helpers in front of a main verb. And we'll do some work on those on worksheets in the next couple days.